something weird is going on in the planet.
Yeah.
Something unusual, dramatic, intense. I've told you this before. I feel like I've become Metatron and I've had no say in it.
Do you think that all of these things ties into 144,000 somehow?
But the 144,000 are the ones that had no choice but to individuate, the only ones that are, to be their true self. Everybody else is overlapping, is watered down, is societally compromised.
Welcome to Coded Consciousness, where ancient wisdom, cosmic insight, and modern awareness meet.
I'm Kristina, a multidimensional channeler, energy alchemist, and esoteric teacher.
And I'm Richard, producer and co host, here to ask the grounded questions that bridge these worlds together.
Together, we explore consciousness, spiritual awakening, hidden history, and the deeper mysteries of our reality.
If these conversations resonate with you, subscribe, like the video, and join us in the comments for lively discussions.
You can also visit codedconsciousness.com to learn more about working with us or share your story.
Now let's get into today's episode. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well.
So, for people watching, this is my friend Mark. Mark and I have just had some interesting conversations, and so we wanted to see about maybe doing some live and seeing what happens. I know some of the things I specifically want to talk about today. Do you want to go ahead and dive into it if I bring up a couple of subjects?
Go for it. We'll see if I have anything.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I would like to talk a little bit about your spiritual journey. I happen to know, like for a fact, from my higher self, that you have access to particular energies outside of what most people consider normal or in this realm or whatever. So, can you tell me any bits of history that you have with particular energies outside of this realm?
Well, I've had many odd experiences, and many of them I kind of keep to myself. Maybe I'm not supposed to, maybe I shouldn't, but I'm still very private in a lot of things about what I've been through and what I've seen. It's because it's very extreme. It's very dramatic and extreme. And it's not easy for me to get out of myself and to share. But if you ask more specific questions, I can try with that.
Okay. Look, and I totally get that. I told you we've got 4 episodes recorded, and they're all me diving in, pretty deep into my experiences throughout my life that's kind of led me to where I'm at. And none of that is easy. It's judged and not understood by a whole lot of people, I would say. Or if it is, it's taboo to talk about, you know? So I totally feel that. But can you tell me any of your connection to Metatron? Can you tell me, what your
I can
experience?
tell you how I started with it. I can tell you that, and maybe go from there.
Yeah.
Since I was a teenager, I was getting information to me, little bits and pieces, and it's been happening ever since. And those pieces have been coming more and more together so that they create a whole. And Metatron was a major piece of that, being able to put them together with, because that's what it is. It's a shape, it's an intelligence of integration, of joining, of joining all those pieces that came before for me. And how I was able to use it as such is that it let me inside of it. And I didn't even know you could go inside of it. I had no idea what it was about, what it all meant. I just saw it at some point, and it grabbed me
No.
and it let me inside of it. And then ever since then, it's changed me. It's helped me put the pieces together. It's made me put the pieces together. It's like I have no choice in any of this. Right from the beginning, from getting information put on me to finding Metatron and it taking me over.
Same here.
I've told you this before. I feel like I've become Metatron,
Yeah.
and I've had no say in it, no
Yeah.
freedom whatsoever of choice.
Yeah, that's kind of me as well. Every time I've tried to divert from the path or take my mind off of it or try to focus on something different, it's like my life is going to lead me right back to the path and the journey of the discovery of what I've found, the beings that I've connected with, all that stuff. So I fully get that. And that's one of the things with not only you, I've got, a few friends around the world, same thing, the energies that they communicate with or embody, or I don't really know the word for it, but they, it's different energies, but they're kind of experiencing the same thing. And they also feel like they are the embodiment of this particular energy, this particular, one of them is Archangel Michael. One of them is another seraphim type energy or entity. One of my friends in Australia, like he believes that he knows the person that is the incarnation of Lucifer in this life. There's just multiple different people that I've talked to that has experienced this, and that's what I want to have conversations out in the open, because we've all been talking about this amongst ourselves for years now, having private conversations and kind of keeping it hidden. But yeah, so
Yeah, and that's why, we decided to launch Coded Consciousness. It was Christina's idea. It came to her in a download, basically, one night. But we want to share with the world everyone's experience from their perspective. So you're just explaining about your experience with Metatron back when you were a teenager. Now I'm pretty sure back then you didn't know at that point in time that was Metatron. It was completely
No.
new to you, right? So I want to go back into that earlier experiences you had. Like what did
Mhm.
it feel like physically, and the setting, where were you, and then what happened afterwards that changed for you?
Well, I could go back even further than as a teenager, but it was when became a teenager, became conscious. But I can look further back as a child, a young child, and know that I was experiencing something strange. Um, and one way of me describing it is that I grew up in Winnipeg, which is in the prairies of Canada, Manitoba, and it's all flat and it's big, huge blue sky. And I would be in the sky. My consciousness would be out there. It wouldn't be on the ground. It would be in the sky. And I can't explain it any other way than that. I did not relate to the ground. I related to the sky, and that's what I saw and experienced and felt. So it's like I had this expanse take over me, and then as I got older, it became more conscious, and then pieces of information would come to me from that expanse. And they'd just be pieces at first until I would say Metatron, which was probably came to me, I don't know, 20, 25 years ago. So the first couple decades were just pieces. One, for example, the numbers, the shape of the number, the numerical sequence of 0 through to 9 is a sequence of shapes that has an advancement in them. Nobody's ever told me that. Never read that or heard that from anybody before, but it was revealed to me by the numbers that there is a progression in their shape from 1 till 9, with 0 being in there too. But the progression of shape is from 1 to 9. And it showed me in 3 and 4 for whatever reason. 3 and 4 were the ones that grabbed me first, because
that makes
3 is
sense
all
too.
curvature mostly, and 4 is all angle.
Yeah.
And I noticed the curvature and angular go throughout the sequence, and they develop to the completed upper circle of 9. So it's a progression of shape. And I haven't read that anywhere. It's just something that was shown to me. And all these other little pieces have been shown to me, and they've been put together.
It's interesting that you said, like, when you were a child, that you were kind of experiencing, because you and I haven't had that discussion about you feeling more connected up in the sky than here, but that's something that I talk about regularly. Like I've told Richard before, that I can remember when I was a little kid. It was a joke in my family about me and my grandfather who would be napping in church. They always talked about how our heads were laid over on each other's shoulders and we would both be snoring in in church. And but my grandfather was a respected man in our town, so of course nobody ever said anything because that's Mr. Edward over there, so we just leave them be and let them do. So we would be snoring in church. But I remember those stories, but I don't really have like the same memories because my memories are more in another place, more like in the clouds. I remember it's like me and my granddad would be laying there, and my experience is more of he and I remember, like, us being, like, in a different place, like, up in the clouds, up in the sky, and it's like we were planning. There was this thing happening that, I don't feel like I can really express to a lot of people and then get that. And then in a previous episode, we discussed in my younger years, I would lay down in bed and, it's what I found out to be later is like astral travel is what I kind of learned to call it. But I would lay down in my bed and I would kind of leave my body and find myself in the clouds communicating with this little being. So I feel like you and I have had similar experiences in that kind of stuff because a lot of my younger years, I felt like you as if I wasn't really grounded here. I didn't really have the same connection to here as I did to, things of another nature is
Hmm.
kind of how I view that. So I think I get what you're get.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the time, I didn't realize it was odd because that's all I knew. And, looking back, it's like, wow. And I can still admit to it that I'm not very grounded. I'm not very here in a certain
Same,
way, you
same,
know? So nothing has really changed. I'm just sort of more conscious of it, you know?
same. Oh, he's the grounded one, okay?
I
So
That's
I
good.
we're back in sometime.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I exist in
Uh,
another plane of existence
yeah, I'm
most of
like,
the time.
Earth to Christina, Earth to Christina."
Okay.
Well, Mark, I have a question for you. So, I mean, you've been on this lifelong, spiritual journey and experience. I guess it's a two-part question. One is, did you ever share these experiences as you were younger to other people? And did they make you feel a certain way when you did?
Only to my family, and they accepted me with it. There was never negativity towards it, or you're weird, or you're full of it. They accepted it because I could see it in me and on me that I was doing something unusual. And so they accepted it. I didn't really talk to any. I didn't really have friends growing up. As a boy, I did. As a teenager, and up until now, I don't really have friends. I've I've had I've had a few here and there that once in a while I would see, but nothing really consistent and long term because we moved around a lot too. I've been alone a lot. I've never married. I have no children. I've had relationships, but they've lasted very short periods. They were intense and they were meaningful in something, but they didn't last long and they're few and far between. So I've mostly been doing this alone thing and don't feel sad for me because I've loved it. I would not trade what I've been through for anything.
Wha Yeah, well, it's kind of my experience that there's a level of growth that can be had in aloneness. It's not to say that growth can't be had in relationships and all, because they really can, but
Yeah.
there is a level of freedom in being alone and taking time alone with the self and just the growth from that is unique. So it's unique that you've had a kind of a lifetime of that, a lifetime to
Sure.
really focus on that inner self and that inner journey without any criticism or judgment or responsibility for somebody else's feelings and what they
Or
need and things like that.
distraction too, or
Yeah,
distraction. I did not have much distraction in my life from what I've been doing.
yeah.
And I had to. not have distraction, or I couldn't have done what I've done, which which is really strange because I can't really show it to anybody what I've done. It's nothing I can really materialize and show you. I've made no money from it. I've made no friends from it. Nothing really that I
You have
can
my
show you.
friends from it. You got me.
Oh, okay. Yes. Yes, I do. I have you, and I have a few other friends, but they're all on the internet.
Yeah. That's what I tell him all the time. It's like my closest friends are in Canada or Pennsylvania or Australia. Like they're all over the place. None really here that I can really connect with and get close to and understand my journey enough that we can even conversate. We don't even talk about the same things. So it just doesn't work out. So I get it.
Well, I want to rewind what you said a few minutes ago when you said your family saw things in you or they experienced certain things with you. Can you dive a little
Mhm.
deeper into that? I'm curious, what you're talking about.
Wow, yeah, I mean, you're testing my memory, you're testing me to even you're testing me to delve into things I never thought about really. I don't look back and I'm very introspective in the moment, but not introspective about the past
I hear
or
you.
about the future or about anything but the moment.
So
And
your
so it's
brother,
with
did you guys really talk about some of this stuff, you and your brother?
a lot. My brother was my sounding board more than anybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah. He
that was
went
the
through a lot with me. He went through a lot, and because I've been I don't like the word, but I've been kinda crazy always, and he went through that with me, and I mean dark crazy too. I don't just mean he's just a little bit frivolous or something. I've gotten into very deep, dark places, and he was with me through a lot of it and there for it. And my whole family, really. I've told you, about a couple of things about an attempt on my own life and all that, and all that whole period, which was dark for decades. And I would say it's only been the last couple that I pulled myself out of. So it's been a very deep, dark place.
That takes a
Right.
lot of courage for someone to say that on a public platform. So, thank you
Yeah,
for
I
sharing.
guess so. I don't care anymore. There's things I don't bring up because they're just, whoa, crazy.
Perception.
Who I thought I was at some points, and I don't care to talk about that because what matters most really is where I am now. I mean, I know it's good to give some background, but what I can give, I can say that I don't really care what about niceties or what people think is right or wrong, or if I'm crazy or not, or whatever. I'm well past that. I'm too old for that shit now. It's like,
Amen.
yeah, but a lot of it isn't necessary to even bring about up, in my view, at least. It's like, what are
well,
we doing now? What are we doing here and now? Where's it going and why and all that stuff. I'm
that leads me to the next topic I wanna talk about. Do you think that all of these things ties into the 144,000 somehow?
from what I'm being shown, it's all that matters to my existence, at least. That's all that matters is that focus. That it's obvious where even to the average person, I think. I mean, maybe not 10 years ago it wasn't, but now I think it's obvious to even the average person something weird is going on in the planet. Something unusual, dramatic, intense, and getting more so, and getting less understandable to many. And it's just going to pick up more and more and more. And what a part of that is for me is what I've been shown is that it's all for the 144,000 because they are the ones that are individuating to be them true self. The only ones that are to be their true self. Everybody else is overlapping, is watered down, is societally compromised, to blend in. But the 144,000 are the ones that had no choice but to individuate. Some people say we choose what we're on. I haven't seen that.
You
I
haven't
haven't
seen the
seen any.
contract yet?
No, and I haven't seen anybody else's contract either. So I don't know if I go for that. I don't rule anything out, but I haven't seen evidence of that. But my point being is that the idea is that we are meant to find that out for ourselves, who we are, and live it. And when you do get to a certain degree of consciousness in that, you realize that you're here for yourself and for the others. And I mean everybody other. I don't mean just the 144,000, for everybody. And actually, the more you get involved in it, the more you need less for yourself and you give more.
So do you think that the 144,000, do you think that is the number of people that are having this level of experience?
Yeah. And it's an equation too. It's 1, 1, 2 4s, and 3 zeros. So 1, 2, 3. And it's a big thing. We can get into it another time or whatever, but it's an equation that I could get into at some point. But everything is in a way geometry and math, but not in the normal sense, not in the sense that people understand it to be or have been taught it is. There's much more to it.
Yeah,
It's actually alive. The numbers are actually alive. They actually mean something other than just what people think they mean.
I completely
Mhm.
agree. That's one thing that we discussed in an earlier podcast is that mathematicians are coming to this realization about the universe in the form of equations and numbers, while philosophers are coming to the same ideals, but through a completely different channel. And then, the mystics are coming to it. And then quantum physicists, are coming to it. It seems like everything, like all of the different realms that can be studied or the different perceptions that can be viewed, they're all coming together and kind of saying the same thing right now. They're coming to the same conclusions through different ways of study.
Numbers is a universal language. You don't have to speak the same
Right.
language to understand what numbers, are and mean,
Right.
mathematics. It can be a language.
And like I said, though, too, they can be elaborated much more than people realize, too. What they're doing, what they are, with their purpose of being. Like I say, even their shapes. And people aren't aware that their shapes mean something, but they do. I've learned a lot just from knowing their shapes.
That's
Why a 3
interesting.
is shaped like a 3, why a 4 is shaped like a 4 or 5, 6. They're shaped for a reason that way.
That's interesting because that's just not really my forte, but it makes sense. I do know they're alive. I've been shown the thing from the inside, maybe in a different manner than you, but I do know how these things are living parts of this architecture. That's one of the reasons we kind of named this coded consciousness. It's just the coding and how that's involved in the universal or the multiversal, depending on how one wants to look at it. We can get into different words and debate what it is out there, what it's really like. But I do know that the numbers and the coding and all of this is heavily tied in. I don't know what you do about the numbers, but I do know that they're living structures, and I know that things are designed in a particular way for particular reasons that goes a lot deeper than most people are aware of.
Yeah. As far as it being a multiverse or universe, I mean, it's a multiverse that is a universe.
Yeah, exactly.
It's one, but it's
Yeah.
an
Yeah,
elaborate.
that's why I put it in dimensional stacks, and I'm like, but you got that one,
Yeah.
that's kind of
She'd rather be in 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday. I was like, if I can just oscillate between 7, 8, and 9 while I'm here, like, I'd be great. Like, don't send me back to 4. Like, I woke up in 4 the other day, and it was an interesting day as far as signals I was getting and what I was experiencing. And I'm just like, just let me oscillate between these and not have to go back to some of those others. But so, it might not mean the same thing to me as it does you, because I really communicate in a dimensional language. But I still understand what you're saying, because what you're saying about even just 3 and 4, is relatable to my dimensional thoughts when you think about the curvature or the straight lines of the four and like all the different things. Like I understand, like I can tie that into my dimensional language and it makes sense there too.
We had a very interesting experience with the number 3333. It was at the grocery store,
Like 2 days
and
ago, it was on 3
yeah,
3.
it was on March the 3rd, and we're
Yeah.
in the checkout line checking out, and the machine, the register showed the total at that time 3333, and then it completely shut off,
Yeah.
like went dead.
So I'm just doing the groceries and I happened to go reach to grab another one. And so the screen was in my face and I looked at Richard and I was like, oh, 3333. And I went to put the thing back over and it's all of a sudden the whole system just shut down. Like she ended up having to break into her drawer to get the money out. It was just a
Odd
whole
experience.
big experience. But what's also unique about that is at that particular location, I've had multiple experiences there. So it's got me very curious if that land does not have something. I don't know what. People talk about stargates and all of that stuff. And I do get into that when we talk about particular points around the world and different things, but I don't know what that land there could carry as far as energy for me to keep having like multiple experiences there.
Hearing that story from us, Mark, what what stands out about it to you, or how would you interpret that?
Well, what came to me was wondering what's the store called? What is it?
That it's at Aldi. It's just
Yeah.
a grocery store. But now it wasn't that when I started having my experiences. It was a Winn-Dixie. And honestly, I was in the and it's talked about on one of the previous podcasts, but I was in my car having this extreme experience in the parking lot when it was a Winn-Dixie. Like this was a point where my heart chakra burst open and I was like convulsing in my car. There was this massive storm, which a lot of times, like when I'm having an extreme experience, a massive ungodly storm will come up. And so
AKA thunderstorm, right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Just for those who are wondering out there.
But so I had this experience where like that all happened. There was like interdimensional voices coming through my speakers, through certain tones coming through my speaker. I was hearing like some weird stuff. And then it's like, I've said this multiple times. It's like if somebody had a camera on my 3D self, what they may have witnessed was me driving home that night. I'm not real sure. But in my experience, like what I remember, that's up in the clouds mentality, maybe if you want to see it that way. But for me, it's like me and my car was like sucked up through this portal and that's it. And like the next morning, I woke up in my bed. So, like I said, from a 3D perspective, maybe I drove home that night. And if I did, I would have been safe. I wasn't on any drugs or drinking or anything of that nature. So I would have been perfectly fine and kind of on autopilot. But my soul or my consciousness or my whatever was not aware here at all. It's like me and my car left, and then bam, I wake up the next morning in my bed. So that happened there as well.
Hmm.
And I've had other weird things happen there for some reason.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah.
interested to hear your side, Mark. What do you think about that experience we had together at the store?
Yeah. I don't know what to make of those sorts of things because I never have them happen like that. It'd be your experiences of it that matters anyways, just you're experiencing it. Uh,
Yeah.
it's like, I guess, a synchronicity of sorts, just to show how things are connected in some way. Uh, Why
And
that
that's how
number?
yeah.
I don't know. Why three? Why three? Maybe there's probably something in that.
Yeah.
If you look at three, it's a split of two curvatures, right? The two curvatures meeting in the middle. I don't know.
That is how I look at it is it's synchronicity. Like you said, I've had multiple experiences like since childhood that didn't really make sense in that moment. But then maybe about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I'm not real sure, like synchronicity started getting to the point where it was obvious that my reality out here was communicating with me. Like where I had internal spiritual things and had multiple experiences, I was really beginning to see synchronicity. Like, it almost made me crazy for a minute because I was trying to tell my friends, I was like, y'all, they're like, I don't know what's happening, but I'm seeing like these synchronicities like crazy. And then as that progressed, my synchronicities are to the point now where as soon as I leave my house, I'll start getting messages like from my reality out here, and all sorts of different signs, numbers, things like that. But they have progressed to a point where things like what happened at the grocery store the other day is not uncommon at all. I just looked at him and kind of laughed because I was like, see what I'm telling you? Like it's just constant in my reality. But to the point where like my daughter will walk in rooms and a light bulb blow above her head. Or we're driving down the road and as soon as we pass by a transformer blows up. I mean, it's just like multiple undeniable big synchronicities that have kind of taken over my life. And like you said, there's no way out of it. It's like this is the path, the only one that there is for me to take. And the universe just keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. But I want to say too what you said about realizing that we're all one, that it really is about the whole, about every single person, not just a select few, or it really is every single person here is one. And we really should be living our lives in a way that benefits the whole, benefits every single one. But we're so conditioned socially to look down on particular types or to hate this person for this reason or whatever. And it's like the last couple of days where the universe has led me is really need to be working, kind of my situation with the last business I had and the last business partner. And it's just put me in a position where I really needed to be working and focused on this, on getting this podcast stuff done and other aspects of business that we're working on. And the last 2 days has been, I ran into a lady at the police department. I was getting my utilities sorted out and went to leave, and this lady was highlighted to me. And I went in and I did my business and all. And then I was leaving and I saw her sitting out on the curb. And so I stopped and I pulled up and I asked her if there was anything I could do to help. Ends up she's in a really bad situation, and I have spent the last 2 days on the phone with organizations in our area, law enforcement, 3 different law enforcement agencies around the county, and multiple different organizations trying to find some help for this lady. And there is absolutely nothing in this area to help people that are in situations like that. But what I discussed with Richard after it was all said and done yesterday was that most of society looks at her in a negative light. They would label her in so many different ways. And I've seen it myself, like in the Facebook groups, like people are so hateful and judgmental that even the Christian communities kind of turn a blind eye to people like that. It has just put me on fire over here for the last 2 days, to
Yeah.
be honest with you.
And just to give you some context, this woman had her car impounded and she needed some personal documents out of the car, like her driver's license, birth certificate, things
Her
like that.
food stamp card, like the lady can't, she's 60 years old, she has COPD, and she can't eat because this towing company, the dude is a heartless asshole, in my opinion, and won't give her shit back. Like, just, no, you got to come up with the $600. Well, the lady doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a car. She doesn't have a home. She's sleeping on hospital benches right now because there's nowhere else in this town to stay. And the guy's like, well, nope, she can't have her food stamp card and her birth certificate back, even though that's illegal in the state of Alabama to, keep somebody's stuff like that. But it's just like what we're dealing with. In order to get her stuff back, even though the guy is operating illegally by keeping her stuff, the police won't help because they're saying it's a civil matter, and so she's got to hire an attorney and go to court and, spend even more money to get her birth certificate back. And so I'm on a rampage over here the last couple of days, like trying to get some help for this lady, somebody that will stand up and do something to help her get her things back. And so I'm trying my best, but I just wish that more people in society recognized that humans are humans and everybody hasn't had the same luxuries in life. Everybody hasn't had the same guidance in life, and we all have different experiences. And some people have been dealt harder hands in this life, and that we all need to come together and try to help each other.
My my thing is, as you know, because we've had this out between us. Last time you had your rampage with talk to me about. We don't need to get into that, but without
I'm
getting
still
into
alive,
deep,
Mark. This is the real me. This is not the other dimensional me, okay?
but rather than get into details about that, my issue is that I have now an overview. And I get criticized for it, get back into the real world, get into life. But I am into life in my way. Trust me, I'm not avoiding anything. This is just who I am and what I'm meant to do and see and be. And so as I mature more and more, I don't judge anybody about anything, not even the people that are assholes. Everybody's playing a role and none of them are wrong. I know that that doesn't seem right if you people, what about pedophilia? Of course, nobody wants that to happen. Nobody does. I promise you, it happens for a reason. It does, and I know that isn't going to go well over people. A lot of things that people do not want to have happen are there for a reason.
Yeah,
And I didn't write this script.
I know.
I'm just following it. My part in it.
I agree with you. There's a girl, I just told Richard about her within the last week or two, and I told him that you and I have had the conversation about pedophiles before and that we believe kind of in the same type of way just because we understand more universal things and see from that perspective a lot of times. But this particular lady grew up in like a sex cult where that's what was happening to her. And it was celebrated in this cult that her family was a part of. And so her life, of course, was incredibly hard as a child. And then moving on through that into adulthood, lots of stuff that she had to overcome and go through. But at the end of the day, she speaks out about it and she's created her own program where she teaches about esoteric things. And I saw this video just a couple weeks ago, and she said that she fully understands that people come here to experience this exact thing that she did, that she experienced. And she was getting attacked in the comments saying, I know you're not saying that people came here. And I actually responded to a couple of them, and I'm like, she's just speaking from a higher dimensional plane than you guys have the understanding to take in and get. And that's the truth of it, because I get what she's saying. But what she did say is that even though that's how she sees things and that how she would not go back and take it back, that if she had to choose again, that she would choose to have had that life because she came here to be a teacher. And the level of teacher that she came here to be required that kind of sacrifice early on in life. And I just thought that it was a unique perspective. But she also said that now, as an adult, that she's gone through it, it's also her life's goal to make sure that it's not acceptable for it to keep happening. That she will fight it now and to try and prevent as much of that as she can and try to make this world, this realm, a better one for other kids that are coming in that might have that kind of experience. And so that's kind of the same way that I see it too, is I do believe that people came here to experience these things. Like when I know, talking about contracts, when I like kind of view my soul contract, if that's how you want to talk about it or how, the language you want to use. I'm fully aware now that the things that I experienced throughout childhood, throughout my life, they were decided prior to me coming here in a sense. And it's not to say that every detail, because we have to make decisions and we do different things. And I also believe that people have to kind of break out of cycles and things. They have to go through these things and then make the choice to break these cycles and to move forward and then to kind of, get to that next level. And so I believe that the things I experienced early on in childhood, I knew coming here that my journey would be complicated and that I made the decision from the soul level to come here and experience those things. But that just ties back into reincarnation and being aware of where we were before, where we're going afterwards, all of those types of things. It's just a very deep conversation that a lot of people I don't think know how to have yet or don't really have that understanding.
Yeah, not till they're ready, if in this lifetime they're ever ready. And that's by design too, from what I'm shown. It's all by design from what I'm shown.
Yeah, I would
Nothing
agree.
is nothing is out of the script ever. It can't be because it's all connected. It's all connected. This happens so that that happens, so that that happens, so that that happens down the line, across the street. It's all connected. So each thing is a necessary event to trigger another necessary event to trigger another one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well,
Until, like I say, the difference from what is that the 144,000 are the ones that have gotten out of that have learned not to be involved in that interconnection anymore, that you're overlapping. You're
yeah,
just yourself dealing with another circumstance, just yourself, though. You're not in an overlap of history or of future or of any drama.
yeah,
You're just a clear, focused individual acting out what you're meant to act out to progress the situation that
yeah.
we're in. So it's all conscious. It has to be conscious. Most people are very unconscious.
Mhm.
definitely. And getting back on to reincarnation, I saw a statement on one of your Facebook posts. The closer to death we get, the closer to home I feel. I believe that was, I'm not sure if I'm saying it word for word, but
Well, I said the closer we get to death, I was meaning all of us.
yes, yes, the closer to death we get, yes.
We. And then I said I,
The
like I
closer to home you
distinguished.
feel, I feel.
Yeah,
Right, right.
Yeah.
That was meant to be a distinguishing. I'm not sure if everybody got it, but
I
it's
did.
that what's going on in the world right now is bringing us closer to death. People are being more aware of death because of what's going on in the world right now. And that, if you're conscious, means we're being shown home. The more I go along here, the more I'm just in the moment and I can't remember what I did, what I wrote, my memory is gone. And I don't think I'm so old now that I'm losing my marbles yet. But I think just the state of being right now for me is that I'm really just now more than ever. I can lose track of what happened 5 minutes ago, you know? Yeah, I'm not sure how good that is, but it seems to be what's happening.
I'll tell you, I've had to get more grounded lately, just with personal things going on and just having to get more in tune with this reality. But I went through a period there for a couple of years. I couldn't remember shit. I'm talking about like nothing. 5 minutes ago, 5 years ago, nothing. I just was completely detached from this realm and just living in the moment. So I fully understand. And if you can stay in that place, if you're able to survive here without really being tuned in, it's actually an awesome place to be able, awesome thing to be able to experience if your
Yeah,
reality is set up for it.
yeah, and mine is because I have no children. I have no, you know what I mean? I have nothing that I have to focus on other
Right.
than the now. And for me, it's not like I'm in another realm. It's like I'm very much in this realm, but
Yeah.
this realm is brings in so many other realms. In other words, I'm bringing other realms to this moment.
Hmm.
That's what I've been doing for decades now, is getting more and more capable of that.
Yeah.
And that's also what I think I'm talking about here, is why I don't have a memory, is because I'm bringing everything to this moment. And this moment, Earth is very good at focusing this moment if you're capable of doing it. It's a very good focus point, the Earth is. It's a very intense, dense focus point. So if you can bring other things that aren't so dense into it, you can have it be a very nuanced life, a very elaborate life, and it not be just like you're off in some other realm, because I'm very much here. It's just that my here is very unusual,
Yeah.
and it's getting more and more normal for me and functional for me. I get more and more functional, but in a way I'm less normal, if that makes sense. And that's why I'm loving these times so much, because these times are finally caught up to me. You know, weird times are finally, wow, this is where I've been living,
Yeah.
the strangeness is where I've always been living. And so it's very much like I'm in my time, I'm finally in my, yeah.
I mean, I feel you because I finally feel like I'm in a place where I can do this podcast and talk about this stuff openly because here in my area in Alabama, I have not been supported or able to even discuss these things, even with, my closest friends at the time. As soon as I start really being authentic and talking about who I really am or about the things that I want to, they just shut down and be like, girl, like I've not had the opportunities to have these discussions. So I feel like we're in a time now where it's acceptable to do so and to
More
that
so than
people,
ever, for sure.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, for sure, exciting times.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you one more question. So I saw where several troops, I think about 200 as the point that I saw it this morning, said that they are being taught in these bases that Trump is being instructed by Jesus to invoke this war on Iran as like the end times
I've
war that
heard that.
he's been. Have
Yeah.
you? So, how do you feel about that? Like, what's your thoughts on it?
I think they're right, but they're wrong. They're right that they're the times, but they're wrong about the people that they think they're unconscious people. They're not consciously doing anything. They're just unconsciously caught up in the drama of it. So yes, that's going on, but not the way they think it is.
See, that's your answer is exactly how I feel about it. I feel like they're right about the times, but the way that it's being discussed, like it's not as it is being shown or as people are interpreting it. That I mean, which the thing is, so since they're talking about Jesus and end time revelations and stuff, when you get into that, they talk about how in that time there will be so many people deceived by people talking about it or claiming to be this or claiming to be doing that or whatnot. And so
False
that's,
prophet and all the rest of it. Yes, yes.
yeah, so there is very interesting times for sure when
Yeah,
our army bases are teaching that our president is operating as Jesus's
yeah.
right hand man to inflict Iran with the end time war and all of this shit. And I'm like, wow.
Who would even have thought that 5 years ago, people be talking that way? You know, just a few years ago, nobody would
Yeah.
be speaking like that.
Yeah.
That just shows you where we've come so quickly, it's like,
Yeah. And it's
wow.
progressing, yeah, it's progressing
Yeah,
very fast too.
yeah,
Things are moving
yeah, yeah.
along.
And that's the great thing about Trump, though, because he's such this bizarre character. He kind of was a help of ushering it in.
He was.
He really was. He just came out of the blue, like, what's this orange car salesman doing? What's he doing being president? And then all the rest of it. It's like, wow, what's
Yeah,
happening? So
yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
agree.
it's interesting times, like you say.
Christina had a final question. I got one for you. So for those who are going through their own spiritual experience, or for those who are just beginning to become aware and conscious, what words of advice or encouragement do you have for them?
Again, the problem with being me is that I have an overview and they can't help but who they are. I can't help them be anybody than what they are capable of being already by themselves. They can listen to my words and they'll use them to whatever way. You know what I mean? It's like everybody's got to learn for themselves, really, ultimately. I mean, it can be like us doing this. It can be interesting for people, but ultimately it's their doing and you can't shape anybody else. So I don't even attempt to try, you
Is
know?
that not funny to
Yeah.
you?
An answer I wasn't expecting, but I mean, I like where it's coming from. It's genuine, authentic.
Look, I'm just gonna say, like, he asked me that same question the other day, like when we were recording podcasts, and I actually cut out the entire question because when he asked, "What's your advice to them?" it was, "Well, good luck." That's just what came
Yeah.
out, because I
Yeah.
really can't.
Yeah.
Like, all I can give is my stories, and I can express. We can have these discussions, and we can talk about it. But at the end of the day, like you said, they really just have to take this stuff in, analyze it however their brains do or however they want to, place
Integrate it
it,
their
Yeah.
own way.
and then move. I really
Yeah.
can't give them advice from that place. So,
My advice would be just be yourself.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Be
there you
yourself.
heard it, everybody. Be yourself.
That's good advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a shirt that says "Be yourself" on the back of
Yeah, I
it.
just told you the other day, I really like that shirt. So yeah,
That's
I
it.
would agree. I think that's
Yeah.
really good advice because it's one thing that I believe is that authenticity is one of the highest vibrational states that we can try and attain in this life. Being fully authentic is really hard in this day and age because there's so much judgment, there's so much criticism. And if you have that life experience, well, then you've got this mental health disorder and you need to be placed here. Or there's so many different reasons, especially with jobs. Like that's the one thing I used to get a lot when I had elevated state was I would get people in my inbox all the time, but they're like, well, we can't come because we can't be seen in public there. It would affect our jobs. And then they would message me and say, hey, I really resonate with what you're posting, but I can't publicly support it because my job in this town, like my clients might quit coming to me because most of my clients are Christian. And if I say that I agree with this thing publicly, then I'll lose my clientele and I can't do that. And so,
You're shaking your head, Mark. What are you thinking?
It's just like I say, being authentic is such a rebellious act, that people don't want it. Most people don't want authenticity. They want to overlap and be accepted and be watered down and just go with what everybody else is going with. And that's where they're at. I'm not going to criticize them. I'm not saying don't do that because that's where they're at. But it's not the best place to
I think you
be.
hit the nail on the head with that statement, and we can end it there.
I agree.
Mark, well, thanks for spending your time with us today and sharing, your thoughts, your
My
journey.
pleasure. My pleasure. It's a pleasure to meet you, Richard.
Yeah, same here. Likewise. Pleasure to meet you finally.
You
Always a pleasure talking to you, Mark.
too, Christina.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Coded Consciousness.
If you enjoy the conversation, the simplest way to support the channel so we can continue creating content just like this is to like the video and subscribe.
We'll see you in the next episode.